And welcome to episode 498 of Cinematary. I'm your host, Zach Dennis, and I'm here with
Grace Winburn.
Michael O'Malley.
in today's episode. Oh, and also Ryan Wilcox. I'm sorry, I went immediately into it. We have Ryan Wilcox is joining us today. Ryan was on the Spotlight episode that we did, but I guess he made the cut out of that group of 5 or 6 people, and so you get to move on to your own episode.
Yeah, Survivor pool. I'm glad to make it
really in the spotlight this time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a hard fought battle. The people that we lost, they're not forgotten, but I'm glad to be representing them. So
I forgot a couple of them, but yeah, but yeah, cool. So yeah, we're gonna do movies that we saw this week in part 1, and then in part 2 we'll be continuing our Cinematary Re-Do series with 2001's Mulholland Drive, which is also our quick David Lynch retrospective, and also still continues to be the only David Lynch movie that I've watched.
Wait, you have not watched another David Lynch movie?
That was the end of the sentence?
That was it.
What?
It was
a breaking
really
news
funny
right here.
Because in episode 200, where I drunkenly talked about Mulholland Drive, Andrew makes a comment about he's not watched any other David Lynch, and still today here in 2025, zilch on the till.
Shameful.
Wow, we really should have done a David Lynch series or something.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's just
brave of you in this day.
I like.
And how have you done that? How have you managed to avoid that?
You just don't watch anything. I'm just off movies. No, this is legit. I like to create blind spots for myself, because then it's like you get something to explore, because I'm just like, I don't want to watch all the movies, and then watching movies just kind of like whatever. You watch new movies, you're like, it's not as good as this one from 1940. So it's nice to have blind spots so that I can be like, hey, this is the year I'm going to explore David Lynch. I think this is going to be the year, though. I think this is going to be the year.
I'm assuming you guys have seen most or all of the David Lynch movies as self-respecting cinephiles, right?
I have.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I even watched Dune.
I'm missing 2, actually.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Kick him off.
Revoke his membership.
Listen, I had some bars in episode 200. We'll get to listen to some of them. Some of them got censored because I don't want to get canceled in this age. There was some phrasing that didn't age well. We're gonna leave that to the you can go back.
Oh my gosh, it was a different time.
It was a different time in 2017.
We didn't know any better.
It was a different time in 2017. What do we know? It was just the first Trump presidency.
We were getting babes.
Let's go ahead and jump into movies that we saw this week. Michael, I'm going to start with you, and I want to hear yours and Grace's report on the latest Looney Tunes movie.
You say latest Looney Tunes movie. This is actually the first Looney Tunes movie. Every other Looney Tunes movie has been either something like Space Jam, where it was a live action animated collaboration, which is also true of Looney Tunes Back in Action, or it was cobbled together from theatrical shorts, which was true of the Bugs Bunny, and there's like a 70s Bugs Bunny movie, but that's really just a bunch of shorts. So this is technically the first feature-length, fully animated Looney Tunes movie. And I thought it was fun. It's, focusing on Porky and Daffy, which is a duo that kind of harkens back to an earlier era of Looney Tunes, but it's done with the style of, I don't know if you guys watched those HBO Max reboot Looney Tunes, but it's kind of in that style where there's the animation's a lot slicker than the old ones, and it's but with a real keen appreciation of old Looney Tunes. I think one of the things that really sucks about Looney Tunes media during my lifetime is that they always tried to make the Looney Tunes feel like that they were of the era that they were making the new media in. So in Space Jam, they're kind of 90s-ish, and it's terrible. Whereas this movie, it feels there's a few. Speaking of being canceled, Daffy and Porky are canceled for a second in this movie because they get they try to be influencers. But there's a few like kind of modern gags like that, but mostly this feels kind of timeless. There's some gags that have to do with like the painted backdrop style of like the old Looney Tunes movies that are really fun. There's the kind of like rubbery, like Tex Avery style, like old fashioned sort of thing. There's a few uses of computer animation, but mostly it at least feels very hand drawn. And I don't know. I thought it was fun. I don't know. I said this first feature length animated like a Looney Tunes movie, and I don't know actually that it works that well as feature length. There's the little doses of this movie are all really fun, and I think as a whole, it maybe struggles to make a 3-act structure, but I don't know. What do you think, Grace?
I mean, I agree with everything you said. So very well put. I thought it worked in the 3-act structure. I thought it was a very quick. It's a tight 90, and I didn't feel like anything. I didn't feel like anything was wasted, and I really enjoyed all the little bits and bobs that are call back to this, throw back to that, homage to this. And still feeling very fresh. It didn't feel like it overplayed a hand into just like out and out, nostalgia baiting or whatever. But I just really enjoyed seeing it in a theater. That was the most important part to me. It feels like this. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's very obviously that it has like flown under the radar. When my friend was like, let's go see this, I was like, there's a new Looney Tunes movie and it's in theaters. I would be expecting to see this on like Amazon or HBO or something. So that was like a really refreshing treat. And it was also really nice, the dynamic of the theater. So like my theater going experience also like made this that much more of like an important installation in Looney Tunes, because it felt like, you go see a movie, there's the cartoon before the feature. And so in this case, the cartoon is the feature. And it was just really nice hearing like little kids laughing with their parents. Like this felt, like it reaches across like all age demographics. But I was absolutely howling with laughter the whole time. This really does it for me. I could take 10 more of these. I love Porky and Daffy. Daffy gets to be Daffy, and then Porky is as straight as a man as you can get, with that very comical introduction into his stutter. Now it's like funny to make fun of his stutter. I guess it wouldn't have been before. It's a little insensitive, right? But
how is it less insensitive?
Well,
now?
they give the gag. They give the gag as to how it happens, and it's like, that explains it. Haha. Now we're in on it.
They have to give the origin story.
They give the origin.
So that is something that's kind of,
and that was hilarious. I was like, okay, this sets the tone.
This movie does have an origin story for Porky and Daffy, which I think in concept I would be against, except that it is a hysterical part of the movie. Like they're raised by this farmer, and the farmer is done in that style where he looks like he's part of the background, like he barely moves.
Like
and so he looks like a painted like background that like the animated characters are in front of, and like I don't know, it's really hard to describe like the aesthetic joke that is, but it's such a funny joke. Like it's basically the single joke the whole time, like that farmer character is in it, but it's very funny.
It's all very good with very unique and singular character design for all these new people that they bring in or create just for the purpose of the movie. And again, it all still felt very fresh and like in that style, but perfect and specific for this. So loved it. 10 out of 10. And I think it's funny that, so I don't have children, so I saw this with my adult friend, and you have children and you saw this by yourself.
By myself. I asked my kids, I was like, do you guys want to go see this movie? And I showed them the trailer and they said no.
and then you were like, hey, like Rebecca, I think we might need to like trade out these kids. They don't want to see the Looney Tunes movie.
Yeah, I haven't even told you the worst of it, which was that Jarvis told me he wanted to see the Minecraft movie instead, and I just about lost it.
Not in this house.
It's because he said like I haven't seen the trailers for this movie. I've seen the trailers for Minecraft, so I want to see that. Which I do want to say that like this movie's production is very mired in the swamp of what has become what Warner Brothers has become, because this movie was produced to be on HBO Max, but then when HBO Max became Max, for some reason they decided not to put it on Max, and they were just gonna like completely shelve it. And then like another distributor bought it from Warner Brothers and then distributed it. So it makes sense why there's no advertising, because for some reason I don't understand movie studios spending millions of dollars on movies and then deciding just to take the wash on like the budget. Like I don't know. You could have made some of your money back, probably more so if you had actually advertised it.
And now they're
And then
doing that with the other one, Coyote versus Acme. So it's happening again.
And then how did the movie do? Is it performing well? I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I mean, the theater I
By
saw
all accounts, yeah.
The theater I saw it in was fairly full.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is indicative of like its overall like product or budget. I will say, like, you made the point about like there's some callbacks, but it also feels fresh. Like I think there's a way that you could call this a legacy sequel. Like, you know, it's like it's reintroducing like this IP. But I think that like it feels so much better than a lot of those are. And I think like basically it's because they're not really trying to make it like they're not really trying to be nostalgic about like what it was in the like 50s or 60s when people would watch these. Like there's a lot of callbacks in the sense of like they're playing on people who like understand like references. A lot of them like they use sound effects from the old like Looney Tunes stuff, or there's a whole musical sequence that's set to like Powerhouse. I don't know if you guys would recognize the musical piece. It's in like every other Looney Tunes feature. And so like there's stuff like that are callbacks, but the story and the film itself doesn't bank on like, I don't know, like a Force Awakens style, like, you know, we're introducing this to a new generation and you remember all these things and that's what the emotional stakes of the movie are tied up in. Like, I don't know, like if we're going to make IP driven movies, like this is cool. Like it's a movie that has no real continuity with the other, you know, iterations of its ilk, but also feels in the same spirit as those things, which I would like to see more of, is the spirit recaptured rather than the actual plot of old movies recaptured. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I assume it'll probably make its way back to Max.
It better. I don't know.
And it's encouraging that Warner Brothers also sold Coyote versus Acme to Ketchup Entertainment, which is the one that's saving these Looney Tunes movies.
Yeah. I will say I'm looking at the box office right now, and it made $10 million so far on a $15 million budget. So not making its full budget back yet, but that's like with like basically only word of mouth. So I don't know. They probably could have made money on this movie. I don't know what their deal is.
Yeah. Well, this is the company that also has shelved all their Looney Tunes content on Max and just like was like, no, let's just take all that off.
Like I truly don't get it. Like they own that. Like it costs them nothing to have it on there. Why would they shelve it?
I don't know.
Like it's not like they're paying somebody else to have it. These are owned by Warner Brothers.
David Zaslav, he knows what to do, man.
Yeah, we can't be questioning Zaslav.
Man with a plan.
We'll go see The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, if you can. Help support this word of mouth small Looney Tunes movie.
Yeah, this indie feature that somehow features some of the most recognizable characters in movie history.
Little upstart film. Speaking of crazy kids making movies, let's talk a little bit about Steven Soderbergh's latest.
He's done it again. He's at it again.
Come on, baby.
The anti Quentin Tarantino. It's like, you want to make 10 movies ever. Soderbergh's like, I'll make 10 movies in like 2 years.
Making 10 movies, yeah.
Today. But let's talk a little bit about Black Bag. I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I know, Michael, you've seen it, and then Ryan's seen it as well. Just a quick refresher. It stars Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett, who are husband and wife. The movie opens and Michael Fassbender gets this list of these people who have potentially stolen this nuclear fucking thing that doesn't matter. And one of the people on the list is his wife. and they both work at this intelligence agency, but it seems like they kind of work at different sides of it. They have the code word black bag that they say when it's you get a little too they don't want to talk about like what they got into that day in work,
which I've been incorporating in my daily life. It's been great.
That's fair. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
And so the movie really kind of kicks off where Kate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender host this dinner with all the people on the list, with Kate Blanchett not knowing that she was on the list, and it just kind of cooks from there. Like I said, I talked about it before. Ryan, what did you make of Black Bag?
Yeah, I loved it. It's probably my favorite movie that's come out so far this year, which isn't saying much, but yeah, just like a smart, sexy, I guess thriller, but also like a parody of a thriller. It's not taking itself seriously at all. Great actors. I remember, I think it was you sent it to me, Zach. It was an interview with Soderbergh. He was talking to his cast and crew, and he basically said, "This isn't a film. This is a movie." And I think that comes across in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Great score. I always think David Holmes is underrated in his contributions to all these movies. Great script. Another like tight 90 movie. It's just a lot of fun. I loved it.
Yeah. And just one of those where like, I don't know, the Soderbergh David Koepp collaborations have been kind of interesting. You kind of had like different levels of them. I know we talked about Presence earlier this year, which I think people had various opinions on. I liked it. You had Kimmy, which came out a couple years ago with Zoe Kravitz. It's just been kind of interesting to see like this like legacy blockbuster, like worked with Spielberg kind of guy, with working with Soderbergh right now, just kind of making I guess movies.
Yeah.
And this one I think it's kind of tough. Like you talk about it. I don't think it's not reinventing the wheel. It's not like holy cow, this is like this whole new level of filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just kind of it reminds me a little bit of like Conclave last year, where we were talking about Conclave as like it was up for Best Picture, and you're like this really shouldn't be up for Best Picture. It's just like it's like a fun like crazy like 90s thriller that it's just a good time at the movies. It's not anything that's like one of the best things of the year. And like Black Bag's kind of similar, where it's just like this is just a really good time. It's tightly made. Everybody acting is like doing it is like at the top of their game, just kind of giving exactly what they need. And it's like it's just like right at 90 minutes. It's great. Michael, what did you think of it?
I agree with everything that you guys said. It's really fun. It's fun how this is kind of like a spy thriller, but is in a lot of ways like almost a rom-com or like even a romantic melodrama, because it like begins and ends basically with dinner parties, like parallel dinner parties. And at the dinner party, it's all these intelligence agents, and in theory, they're all talking about like their work, but they're all romantically intertangled with one another, and their work is intertwined with their relationships. And like at any given moment in the movie, like what is happening is both happening on the level of a relationship between two characters romantically, as well as like this international intrigue about this like whatever, like military asset that they have. I just think it's cool that it's like both genres at once, because I feel like that even when you go to like back to whatever, when like Hollywood made like movies like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or something like that, there you feel the movie switching modes in a movie like that, where it's like, okay, now here's the scene that's just like the stars like having on-screen chemistry. Now here's the scene that's the action scene. And I don't feel like this movie has those gear shifts. It's just really like buttery smooth navigation of like tropes of both the genres at the same time. And I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think it's credit to David Koepp and as a screenwriter, and credit to Soderbergh, and all these movies he just cuts out the excess, and it seems like they just make it as tight and enjoyable as they can, and it's great.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Soderbergh, so this is going to sound backhanded, but it's not. But I think in a lot of ways, like Soderbergh has become more special and notable, not because he has become better as a filmmaker, but because the industry around him has become worse.
Right.
Like, yeah. I remember like when he had that run of movies like after Magic Mike, where it's like Haywire and things like that. And I remember watching those movies and think like, wow, these are really competently made movies that are just slightly better than what you would normally see.
Right.
And he's still basically doing that, except that they're no longer slightly better than what you would normally see because people don't really make movies like this anymore. And so, like, same with David Koepp, like, just by virtue of being like a dinosaur that has maintained their ability to make movies in the industry, which is not true of everyone, like, they're still making movies like they would have in the 90s or 2000s in an industry where that is now a special thing rather than simply like someone who's like just slightly more interesting than, you know, I mean, I like Traffic and I like, you know, all of those movies that he made at the time. And he always had that more experimental penchant, like in Soderbergh's case, that made him like always worth checking out. But, you know, in a lot of ways, he was like a mainstream filmmaker, like just riffing on like industry tropes or sometimes creating industry tropes, right? I think Traffic created the yellow tint for Mexico, right? And things like that. But I don't know. I think good for him for sticking around. You know, I'm glad he's enjoying retirement because I'm enjoying his retirement too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I do. The one thing you do miss out on is like this guy is one of the best technicians and stylists of his generation. I wish he would take, 2 or 3 years and make a big movie that feels like an opus or a statement or whatever. I mean, I like all these singles and doubles he's been hitting, but I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at him going back to actual retirement for a little bit and then coming back with something that feels like more of an event, you know?
I feel like that's what's so interesting about him is like he's clearly like a generational talent who has no interest in making like a generational touchstone movie.
Yeah.
Like you go through all, I mean, people talk about like Sex, Lies, and Videotape or whatever because it's, I mean, that movie was notable in its context, but it's just a very small scale, interesting little like psychological drama. And like there's very few of his movies that feel like that they are, I mean, whatever. You compared him to Tarantino, but like every one of Tarantino's movies, Tarantino wants to be like a big, important movie. Whereas Soderbergh's almost the opposite, where he's like, he wants every one of his movies just to be like, hey, I was just kind of interested in this, guys. You want to check it out? Like,
like just good enough to be a theatrical movie and avoid the streaming thing. And
yeah,
I mean, he's really interested in the business and like how can we make the business better. And he's a big thinker about all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think one of the ways to do it is like, a big ass movie with that has a lot of buzz around it, and maybe not. I mean, who am I to second guess Steven Soderbergh? But
I would take him making these movies until he dies. Like if we got like, if we just got these movies or like High Flying Bird type movies, like the entire rest of his career, I would not complain one bit. But it is interesting that he seemingly has no interest in making like a capital I important movie. And I mean,
that's also like such an outlier because I feel I was thinking about it the other day because A24 has had like this run of movies where it's just like I was thinking of that movie Opus with Ayo Edebiri that came out a couple weeks ago, and it's like a film by I forgot what the guy's name is. Like it's just a bit film. Like I don't know who the fuck that guy is. Like it's not like
I think he's a GQ writer who became like this is his debut film or something like.
But
it's not a person you should know.
But they give it like this gravitas. Right. Like it's like that Chantal Ackerman's come back to life and has created this like I'm just like I don't know who this dude his name's David, like whatever.
I mean they did it for this recent the new Marvel movie. What's it called? The one with Florence Pugh. It's like from the editor of whatever A24.
From the editor. You could do that with dude, that'd be so funny if they advertised the Soderbergh movie like that, like from the editor of like Ocean's 11
but it's all Soderbergh because he does
the entire time. But no, I agree with you, Michael. It's like would I watch that big event movie? 100%.
Yeah.
But it's like he doesn't seem interested in it, which is kind of like it's very like it's such an outlier. The point I was making was like it seems like a lot of people want to make this like big like capital I important film, and Soderbergh's just like that's cool, great. I've done that a little bit. Great, y'all. I'm gonna like just give like let me give you hits. I'm gonna give you movies. Give you a good 90 minutes of the theater. Get your popcorn.
I always think about him with someone like Linklater, where it's like I'm just interested in getting stuff made, and like every movie is going to be kind of an experiment, kind of not. I mean, he's always trying something new. I think you could argue Soderbergh is getting a little more stale than someone like Linklater, but that's fine. I mean, he's still like we said, one of the best like stylists out right now. So
Yeah, Linklater's a good comparison because he kind of has that also navigating studio movies and then doing like kind of
Mhm.
like experimental-ish movies.
yeah,
But otherwise, I can't think of all the big like filmmakers of their generation are either not really working that much anymore, or like your Paul Thomas Anderson or Quentin Tarantino, where it's like an event when they make a movie. I can't really think of other people who are working in that mode of like we're just just doing our thing.
I've heard. I don't know if he's necessarily in the same like realm, but I've heard that The Woman in the Yard by Wom Colette Sarah is like pretty solid.
I
And
have heard that too.
I'm like he like had that little like detour with Disney where he just made like just absolute shit, and so it seems like he's back in like mid-budget like thriller horror mode, and I'm like I kind of like him in that mode. He's really fun. Like The Shallows is a hell of a movie. It's such a good. It's a good time. Black Bag, it's still in theaters. I think I saw that it's coming to digital pretty soon. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Real quickly before we wrap up, we got to talk a little Michael Mann. And Ryan and I watched, as part of our movie group, The Insider, earlier this week. I hadn't seen The Insider in a minute. For those unfamiliar, it stars Al Pacino and Russell Crowe. Al Pacino is a producer for 60 Minutes. He's kind of the guy that gets that works with the subjects to kind of get them on board to be ready for
Lowell Bergman, who's a 60 Minutes producer.
Yeah, he's the guy who he gets everybody set up. Gets the interviews in line for Mike Wallace at that period of time at 60 Minutes. And he gets this tip and starts looking into the story about big tobacco. And he connects with this research chemist played by Russell Crowe, who was just recently fired from, what is it, Brown and Williamson is the company. Yeah. And but was kind of just kind of let go under pretenses that he could tell were kind of BS, and because of like increasing threats and things posed by the company, becomes way more open to whistleblow and like dig into all of the nefarious activities this company's been doing related to nicotine and tobacco. And so it's kind of funny, like you think the movie's going to be about them getting this 60 Minutes interview, but that happens like within like the first hour or so, hour and a half, where he sits down for a 60 Minutes interview with Mike Wallace. But then that's when like the real drama starts, as upper constraints from big tobacco and CBS, as a corporation, and other facets start to make that interview impossible to air. But yeah, Ryan, I know this was you were just saying this is one of your favorite of Michael Mann. What sticks out about this one?
Yeah, I'm definitely a Michael Mann acolyte, worshiper, whatever the word is, student. Love basically all of his movies, most of his movies. For context, we watched this. We've been having movie nights for a while now with this group of ours. We're doing a series on journalism movies. So this was my pick. I just think it's one of the best journalism movies ever made, up there with All the President's Men and Spotlight. I think is great. Zodiac, I think it's arguably a journalism movie. That would probably be my Mount Rushmore. I saw this movie. I think I saw it once. I think early last year. This is my second time watching it. Loved it even more. Love Pacino. Love the thorniness of how it sticks to the actual account of what happened. I think it's easier to make a streamlined Hollywood version of something like this, but and a lot of stuff is fictionalized and dramatized and everything else. But I think it's a great movie. I love all the corporate ethics and stuff in the second half, especially. It becomes like Al Pacino's movie towards that last hour there.
We didn't talk about him too much after we watched it. Pacino and Crowe are like the guys on the poster. Like they obviously are great. but Christopher Plummer as Mike Wallace is fucking incredible in this movie. He kind of gets a little bit overshadowed just because he's not as like showy as often as the other two are, but he's just really good
God.
because he's just kind of one. It's a real figure, so like a lot of people have attachments to like Mike Wallace as this like journalist on television, and it's not really that flattering of a portrayal of him at all.
No. Yeah, I think Christopher Plummer is still digesting like all the scenery that he chewed in this movie. Like he's amazing. It's theatrical, but it's somehow real, and I think true to this to Mike Wallace. I mean, I wasn't around for the Mike Wallace days of 60 Minutes, but yeah, amazing performance. Kind of crazy he didn't get nominated or anything like that, but
That's kind of Christopher Plummer's career, though.
yeah,
Just really good, but not ever really getting nominations.
I think this might be like the last great Pacino performance, or at least lead performance. I would hear an argument for like Insomnia or something like that, but I think Pacino is amazing in this movie. I think I listened to something else about this movie. I think it was like Crow got nominated, and the movie was celebrated. It was not a big box office hit, but it was a critical hit and awards bait and stuff like that. I think Pacino is the highlight of the movie. As great as
he's really good.
As great as Plummer is, all the performances are pretty great, but I don't know.
Grace, have you seen any Michael Mann movies?
I've seen Collateral. I've seen Heat, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then name a couple more for me because I probably have.
There's Thief.
God. Okay.
Thief.
Yeah.
There's Manhunter. Yeah.
Manhunter. Yeah.
Like
Last of the Mohicans.
I was just thinking, I was like, I would like to hear Grace on a Michael Mann movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you would have. I feel like you would have some takes. Because we were talking about it a little bit after we watched it, but Michael Mann, as you know, as great as he is as a filmmaker, does not spend like he's definitely Michael Mann. He doesn't spend a lot of like.
No, not Michael Woolman. Is that where you're going? Yeah. No.
He doesn't spend a lot of time there.
No, Thief, I love. That one's difficult to watch every time I make myself watch it.
What's difficult about it? What's difficult?
I get really choked up when he pulls out his collage that to see to see his vision board is really touching. Where I think about your body is in prison, your mind is not, your future is not, and your hopes and dreams are free. And to see that represented, it's almost like all of the pictures are kind of like they're too big for the page that they're taped onto or pasted onto. So it's just a really like moving prop for me, and one that he always has on him is super touching to me. And I think that like the bravery to like open that up and show that to I forget her name, the actress in their name, like Tuesday to the
Tuesday Weld.
To show to Tuesday Weld. And I'm like, oh wow, this is, I think that he like, Michael Mann, but I mean, he gives us these very tender and romantic men. And then you go over to Heat and you look at Val Kilmer and his relationship with Ashley Judd and how, I mean, like that is a paramour in such a to the umpteenth degree. Their passion and their romance is unbridled, but she's also kind of shallow as far as again these female characters go that he puts into his world. But I think that I admire the depth that he's able to the depths that he sort of plumbs within his male leads and trusts them to deliver such heavy characters. Certainly have thoughts on Michael Mann.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing about, I think, Michael Mann is that he's on the face of it like this Chicago tough guy who loves movies about criminals and cops and hard-edged dudes. But then he's also like this sophisticated aesthete who is like, I have a real like sensitivity to like music and the way he shoots things, and you know, the way he depicts romance, the way he shoots sex scenes and all this stuff. Like he's a really, I don't know. I'm dropping all these weird comparisons right now, but here, like I think because I was watching Sofia Coppola movies at this around the same time I was going through Michael Mann, where I'm like, there's such there's
Girl director, boy director.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're different, but then they're two sides of the same coin. If I can
The
quote
gender
you.
binary does exist, and
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty gender essentialist of me, but yeah.
No, that's
Well,
all right.
Yeah.
Well, I think The Insider is on Criterion Channel right now because they had a Michael Mann series, I think, playing last month, so I think it's still there. So if you haven't seen it, it's a hell of a time. It's a great movie. But we're gonna take a quick break. Speaking of a hell of a time, great movie, we're gonna take a break and come back with Mulholland Drive in part 2. And we are back with part 2 of episode 498 of Cinematary. In this part, we will be continuing our Cinematary Re-Do series with 2001's Mulholland Drive. This movie was selected for me in our, after re-listening to a bit of it today, our infamous 200th episode where I came up with the idea that we should do like drunk history, and we assigned different movies for each other, and then got really drunk, and then had to like just not really review them, but like recount them, and like it was like we had 5 or 10 minutes of recounting the movie, and then we had 5 minutes of questions. And then that structure really went away after a while. It was just kind of chaos after some point.
Wait, so you were So you were drunk when you watched the movie and when you recounted
No,
it?
you watched it in whatever condition you wanted to
Gotcha.
be in, but when we recounted it, you had to be drunk. And yeah, I don't know. Let's hear what I had to say. This is me. This is me explaining what Mulholland Drive is in 2016 or 17 or whatever.
So Mulholland Drive, so picture this. Pink screen, dancing people. It's the best Kids Bop movie you've ever seen. It's a wonderful rendition of...
I hate this already.
It's a wonderful rendition of Kids Bop. You enter LA in the mid-20s. There's a... In the mid-2000s, there's a car driving down the road, and then they stop, and she's like, "Why are we stopping?" And the guys are like, "Nothing." And then these other 2 cars come down the road. It's like Death Proof, and they come rumbling down the road, and they hit the car head on, and it's like, "Boom." So, that car is total. But the chick in it, she's cool. She's good. She's a little kind of chick. Laura Herring is the actress. She goes by Rita because she gets amnesia, but we'll get to that in a second. She got a little concussion thing going on, which if Roger Goodell was involved, he wouldn't do anything about it. But she decides to walk down and go and go to a house and just. First, she just lays in the street, or like lays in the bushes and just sleeps. And then this lady goes off and leaves, and she just goes in the house. So then Naomi Watts gets off a plane from like Australia or some shit. And she's like, "I'm super excited to be in LA because I have blonde hair and I'm a woman."
It's La La Land.
Is it Naomi Watts?
Yeah, Naomi Watts. And scariest part of this whole damn movie is the scariest part of this whole damn movie is these old couple that's so excited for her. Because if you've ever met an old couple that's just really into you immediately, scares the crap out of people. And they scared the crap out of me. And like they have this shot where they get into their limo and they're just like showing their inner jitters that they're excited just to be here, and I was terrified at them. Anyway, so we get to the house. Naomi Watts finds this girl. She's taking a shower. She's like, "What are you doing? I'm not going to question this a lot." And so she's like, "Nah, just kidding. We're best friends." So then she's like, "We're going to find out why you have amnesia." Now, while this is all happening, we're also cutting away to an emo reject from Entourage, otherwise known as Justin Theroux, who is directing this movie, and then he goes home and he gets cheated on by Billy Ray Cyrus, which is quite honestly the best part of the movie.
Billy Ray Cyrus is in the Criterion Collection.
So he's just like, dude, just chill out and hang out.
Perfect.
And he punches him in the face.
Billy Ray Cyrus?
No, yeah, Billy Ray Cyrus punches. It's an achy, breaky heart, you know? So he punches him, and then he drives off, and there's like this like miniature guy in a room, and he's talking about Hollywood, and then they're casting a movie, and Naomi Watts is supposed to be casted in the movie, and among other things, there's just a lot going on. So overall, this is what happens. Naomi Watts comes to LA. She's super pumped about it. She meets her best friend Rita. She's like, I'm going to help you find out why you have amnesia. I don't know why Justin Theroux's in this movie, but he is, and we got to deal with it. I don't know why we have this scene where there's like a Me Too moment going on where she's making out with this old guy, but it's there. We got to deal with it. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. David Lynch seems like a very smart man.
10 minutes.
He's got a lot going on, and let me just say that Mulholland Drive. So first off, they go to this restaurant called Winkies, which let me just say objectively is hilarious. Just an objectively a hilarious name. So they go to this place called Winkies. And for some reason, this guy who's also in, I think, like, lots of other movies, he's like, I gotta go check out what's behind this wall. And so they're like, we gotta go look behind this thing. So they go look behind this thing, and I shit you not, there is this terrifying woman. Do we understand why this woman is here? No. But do I love her? I'm infatuated with her. She's muddy, she's gross, and I love her. No, she's my favorite.
I still feel the same way about the trash lady. I love the trash lady. I got so excited when I knew she was gonna show up. I was like, hell yeah, here she
That's
is.
a little girlfriend. Cute.
And like, well, then they were questioning. They were like, "It's a man." I'm like, "No, it's Trash Lady." And then it was vindicated that it is an actor. It's a woman who plays that role. And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Trash Lady. She's beautiful."
You couldn't tell by those bright blue eyes and that coy smile that there underneath all the muck and dirt lie a beautiful woman just waiting for Zach to come along.
I could.
Dude, you gotta go find Winkies for real and go meet her.
I definitely want it when I go to Los Angeles, find Winkies and then go take a picture with be like, hey, I'm in Trash Lady's trash kingdom. So that's how I recounted Mulholland Drive, probably like almost a decade ago. We'll go back to that. Did I have some funny lines? Yeah.
Kind of cooked.
I cooked a little bit. Did I get all over the place? Yeah. Did I provide any information about the movie? Not really. So I'm gonna pass it around. Grace.
In your defense, like the most coherent part of that episode was what you just played.
That's true. That is true. There's parts of that episode that probably should just stay away. You know, in the
vault.
Yeah, just put that in the vault of the internet. Grace, how are your feelings towards Mulholland Drive? Where do you come at it from?
They are very strong feelings. They are very heavy feelings. They are the very high highs and the very low lows. I feel everything all the time, right? Everywhere, all at once. This was actually probably my first David Lynch movie, if I'm remembering correctly, because I had just like worn out some Twin Peaks, and then a friend was like, "Oh, you like David Lynch? You should watch Mulholland Drive." And I remember that first viewing, and I remember the exact moment where I felt like my brain break like split in two. And then I've been trying ever since to like put the pieces back together again. And I realized that I somehow have like a third piece now because of this, and how it has like helped me, connect with and engage and analyze all film since for me. I think that this is a film that requires so much of its viewer to there is no passivity. It's a very engaging, intellectually, emotionally, and heavy film to engage with. This isn't casual viewing, and I'm glad that I saw it. When I saw it, I was probably, sometime in undergrad, and, your world is being expanded and exponentially. So, this came at the exact right moment for me. And then every time since, I never know how it's going to affect me. I know what happens. I'm aware, plot, this happens next, and then this happens next, or maybe this is did this come as quickly? But, basically, I just don't know how I'm meeting the film anytime I watch it, how, certain aspects of it are going to, affect me in ways. Like this time around, I wasn't so frightened by the jump scare of our dear sweet trash lady. But I remember feeling extra scared and sick and chills at the very end in ways that I hadn't felt in previous viewings. So this is one that certainly like changes, you approach it differently every time, and it changes into something different for you. Or at least I hope it does, and that it like yields multiple changing emotions and changing perspectives. But I love it. I wouldn't, this is not my favorite Lynch, but it is definitely one that I think the most about. My favorite Lynch is Wild at Heart. That one doesn't require so much. That one just fills up my little romantic heart, my little wild heart, and makes me cry. But this is probably what I think about the most, or what I'm like not afraid of to think about the most. If this is also going to be kind of like a David Lynch episode, I'm afraid of Lost Highway, like deeply unsettled by Lost Highway. So I don't let my brain go over to those Lost Highway thoughts. I'm like, let's think some more about Mulholland Drive. Let's, live a little longer in this world. Let's drive a little slower down the road, up the winding road.
So this movie isn't scary to you?
It's more of a despair. There's definitely a fear, but then there's an overwhelming despair. And then I think that for me with Lost Highway, there's like a real fear that it like never abates. Like I'm consistently like on pins and needles the entire time. Just so like, what next? What could you possibly show me that could be any worse than what I've just seen? So, but this is, frightening. But I'm left in that pit of despair, and I'm not lifted out of it.
Yeah.
I can confidently say this is probably my favorite David Lynch.
Yeah.
And your least
Out of
101.
it's also your least favorite by that.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Ryan, what do you make of Mulholland Drive?
What if I just came in after Grace and I was like 3.5 stars? It's pretty good.
Well, sure, go ahead.
No, that's not how I feel. I mean,
okay.
This obviously one of the modern masterpieces of filmmaking. I have to say it is not my favorite either. My favorite is probably Lost Highway. I don't know what that says about me on the personality quiz there, but yeah, it was. This is my second time watching it. The first time I saw it was in college. I was probably 20 or 21, and I was definitely not ready for it then. I don't know what the right age is, or how far you're supposed to be along in your journey when you see this movie, your film watching journey. But
you should be sober, I think would help.
Sober would help, or actually probably not. But I think I was probably like not. I wasn't really looking forward to rewatching it because of what you said, Grace, about the emotional journey it takes you on. And even though, there's parts of it that I didn't understand the first time, there's parts that I still am parsing through and don't understand. The emotions are so strong on like a moment to moment level, and just in terms of the craft and the performances and everything that's going into it. I mean, the woman singing in Club Silencio. I mean, if that's not like the most beautiful thing you've ever heard or seen, like I don't know what to tell you. Like
I had to listen to "Crying" by Roy Orbison on the way home.
Yeah, seriously. So just the moment to moment, like, excellence of everything that's going on. Like, it's so powerful, and it rattles around. And I think the first time I saw it, I was probably a little antagonistic towards it because I was like, the expectations are so high, and I saw it in a class where it's like, it's this pedantic thing of like, here's the great modern masterpiece of movies. But yeah, it just stays with you, and you think about it, and you feel different ways about it. I was surprised how much I remembered of this movie, and like just like the color of the wall, when the guy shoots the other guy, and then shoots the other lady, and then has to shoot the cleaner, and then the vacuum like
that fucking scene just goes on so long, and it's so funny.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh,
so just I remembered like so many hues and shades of everything, and even if I don't, there's some parts that I still struggle with, I think, and I think that's probably intentional, and maybe that's like the highest level of art is like, I don't even really enjoy or like all the parts of this, but you have to sit there and wrestle with it.
Yeah. Michael, what about you?
I mean, this, obviously great movie. I saw this fairly far into seeing David Lynch movies. Like, I came to David Lynch because I had watched X-Files and had read that Twin Peaks was an influence on the X-Files. So then I watched Twin Peaks, and I was like, oh, David Lynch is like a big deal. And so, sorry, there's a motorcycle passing. Lynchian moment. And then I ended up watching Fire Walk with Me, and then going back and like Eraserhead, and like, anyway, so I don't know that this was like the like brain cracking like thing that it might be if I had watched it first. Like, it was one of the last David Lynch movies I think I ended up watching. But anyway, it's great. I mean, I don't know if it's my favorite David Lynch movie or not. I will say that like I do think the Club Silencio like moment itself is like maybe the single greatest like scene in any of his movies until maybe like episode 8 of The Return or something like that. Like, it is just like like the way that the movie like hinges on that scene, like that is such a rupture moment in the movie. You see that because up until that point, if you've seen Twin Peaks, Mulholland Drive feels kind of familiar, and we haven't really talked about it, but like kind of infamously, Mulholland Drive starts as a TV pilot that he can't really get off the air, and like the first half, or it's a little over half before Club Silencio appears, but until you get to Club Silencio, you can kind of imagine it being like kind of like the Twin Peaks version of like Entourage or something like that, like to bring up your illusion, like, there's this kind of familiar like Lynchian rhythms, kooky cast, like with some like dark subtext to it, like you're used to in the beginning of Twin Peaks. And then like that Club Silencio moment hits, and you're just like, whoa, like, hold on just a second. This movie is not what I was thinking. Like, it's just a total shift. And, obviously the actual rupture happens when they open the blue box. And, the Naomi Watts wakes up, I guess, from like I don't know. I guess it's consensus to say that the first 2/3 of the movie is like her dream that she's using to escape from like the horrible reality that she's in.
Yeah, I just kind of interpret it as like, she's clearly head over heels in love with what is it, Camilla? Is her actual name, and so she's like constructed this. Nadine talked a lot in the drunk episode trying to get me to accept that this is the Wizard of Oz.
It is. It 100% is.
Which
And
Lynch is obsessed with the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like that, Dorothy, the tornado and like the crash is, it's like that's the reality of life, and so we catch up where, the house has crashed and she's walked into Oz.
Yeah.
That's the beginning of Mulholland Drive.
And then if you play Pink Floyd, does it open up whole new worlds?
That's true.
to
We
you
haven't
as well?
tried that.
Yeah.
That's round 4.
Someone's
Play the
got
wall over this. I will say that, like, I mean, in a lot of ways, this is like a puzzle movie, and like you guys said, like, really devastating by the end. Like, it's so upsetting by the end of this movie, and it's one of those movies that I think, like I said, this is the third time I've watched it. The more you kind of understand like the structure of the movie, and like you kind of like some of the WTF moments, kind of you figure out how to fit them together. Like, the more you understand that, the more upsetting the movie becomes. Like, it's kind of like, it's like cursed knowledge. Like like I said, like you spend the first hour or whatever, like there's like some wacky hijinks and stuff, and there's like a mystery, and the logic of a puzzle is that you want to find out the solution, but the solution is just like heartrending. Like, it's just, like, it's like you think that you're in The Straight Story or Wild at Heart for a second, but then it's revealed that you're just in the end of Fire Walk with Me, and you're just bathed in like human suffering by the end. And Lynch can be so hard to watch sometimes because of those moments, but almost all of the time, like, those moments they kind of sneak up on you because you're, he's got this like quirky, kind of Americana demeanor. And that's like, the big thing with like Blue Velvet too, is like the insidiousness of like the like Americana and like, suburbia and that sort of thing. And like, this is maybe like his defining statement on that, is that like Hollywood is like a synecdoche for like the entire like post-war American experience, where, you have these kind of status symbols and patterns that people are in. But when you peel that back, it's just the most horrific, like hellish thing. I don't know. Great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So heavy.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it as part of a trilogy with Lost Highway and Inland Empire as far as the Hollywood aspects.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Lost Highway in some ways feels like in particular, feels like a test run for this, where you have that bifurcated structure and like you shift like universes or whatever midway through or whatever. I will say, to your point, Grace, Crash Lady is very scary, but probably not as scary as that dude who's like, I'm inside your house in Lost Highway. Like, terrifying moment in that movie.
Makes me want to just end it. He makes me so sick. He makes me uncomfortable. I'm like looking around my room. Is he in here? Is he on my phone? Frightening, chilling. But this, well, no, I lost it. Somebody else.
I mean, I think if the Trash Lady is like the number one jump scare in like Lynch's movies or just fucking all of movies, then number 2 has to be when Robert Blake's face is on Patricia Arquette's face, and they cut, and it's on her face for like half a second, and then it cuts back to Bill Pullman losing his shit. I mean, the way that he mixes like terror and humor, it's unbelievable. I mean, I think what you were saying, Michael, about like the moments of like despair and sadness, I don't know how he does it, but to me, like, those moments always feel earned, even though he's not like laying the groundwork for them at all usually. It's hard to talk about. It's like, what do you say? What can you say about Mulholland Drive that hasn't been said a million times? But then on the other hand, it's like, it's this endless, like, renewable resource of just ideas and emotions, and yeah, it's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of what he earns and not, I mean, I think you'll see some people occasionally, like, and I think credibly, like, perhaps like accuse David Lynch of like having a kind of almost like sadistic or fetishistic aspect,
Right.
specifically with violence against women. And like
That
I
was like
think
the
that
Blue Velvet thing, right? Yeah.
right. And I don't think that if I met someone who said that and felt that in their heart that like they can't watch David Lynch movies because they're obsessed with like women being brutalized, like I would say that that's a fair thing about him. But also there is something about his movies that there's so much there's so much care and love for so many of his characters. And I, you know, as much as like Naomi Watts is like arranging a murder by the end of this movie, and then all the horrible things that come out of it, like
Mm-hmm.
she's not a villain. Like she is like like a deeply tragic figure that like the movie is like grieving. Like the end of the movie is it's not just like dark to be edgy and it's like wow look at Hollywood, it just chews people up and spits them out, you know it which I think sometimes there's a misogynist tone to that sort of thing. Like uh I like uh freaking Sunset Boulevard and like things like that.
Yeah.
There is like a sort of like look at these women who just can't cut it in like the fast-paced Hollywood. And like there's like an aspect of that to a lot of movies like that. But this movie, and I would say like most of Lynch's movies, the the sympathy always lies with women, and to the point where like the evil visited upon them is sometimes even like just metaphysical, because it's like an intrinsic element of our systems is that you know uh, specifically women are just face unbelievable pain. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's easy for me to say that as a man, but it's a fine line he's walking, and I don't know. It works for me.
Yeah.
This is the girl
Yeah,
here.
Grace is our resident girl. Would you weigh in on this issue?
I I that was very well put, Michael. I really appreciate that. And I have not heard anyone say anything about the way that he portrays women other than it is a kindness with like real love and tenderness in his heart, and such respect. Not that he like puts these women on a pedestal and elevates them head and shoulders above the rest, but elevates them to where we're eye to eye with them, and that they are given the space to be neither a hero nor a villain, to be the anti, or to express even the ugliest of emotions, to the space to be kind of funny and quirky, to feel real pain, and to do with it whatever they see fit. It doesn't feel like he makes these characters. It feels like he gives these actresses the space to, roam wild with wherever these characters take them. All of these characters feel very lived in. This time around, I was picking up on a lot of like Laura Elena Herring and like what she was doing with Rita, and some of obviously like Naomi Watts's performance is the biggest one. I mean, is the most impactful, most powerful. It's her dream that we're living in, and then if it's her dream we're living in and her reality and her perspective that we're living in, then the way that Laura Herring plays Rita, and then Camille as filtered through Betty, as filtered through Diane's perspective, there's also like some nuance there that she's able to tap into that I find that I picked up a little bit more on in this viewing. And I so adore this man, and I so miss him. And so it's so like refreshing and so liberating to get these sort of just once in a lifetime performances out of people like these long-term collaborators like Laura Dern, like Naomi Watts, and to deliver these characters so well lived in, and in such a once in a lifetime story. I got a little lost there. I got a little choked up. I'm certainly sad over the passing, and I'm positive I'm not alone in that. But again, that's just these emotions that this person could stir up in an individual, and then also find an individual is able to find a community of other followers, devotees to feel similarly. So
It is kind of funny, like how you talk about like the generosity of his his films and stuff like that. Because like on paper, like if you said, "Hey, do you want to watch a movie made in 2001 by a 60-year-old man about like like a lesbian erotic thriller?"
That
And
was
it's
a
also
scrap
about
TV pilot that
that
became.
was that's also a commentary on filmmaking, and you'd be like, "No, no, thanks." I and but it's incredible, like. And the way that he allows the space for the specifically those two central performances, like, is just like incredible. The like grace and like even the like the like like just the humanity of those performances, while also still functioning in that like bizarre, like stilted David Lynchian thing. Like, I don't know, like
yeah,
the way that these performances don't they don't feel like they're anything different. They don't feel like they're in a different world from like the weird, like the cowboy scene or something like that. But they're still so human and are allowed to like plumb such depths within that framework, and turning it into this like like opus that you know I don't, it's just an incredible like trend, like miracle of a film given like what it
Yeah.
looks like on paper.
Well, the fact that they're so genuine, like throughout the movie, when the thing I was thinking about this recent time watching is that, you know, like there's so many things, especially like when they're in the dreamscape, that like are it's very like conspiratorial. It's like like you think about like the cowboy and the man in the room, dictating who's going to be the actress, and like the two brothers who come in. You have all this stuff that like it like feeds all of these theories and these conspiracies and things like that. And like watching it this time, like those just seem like odd elements that like pop up in a dream that like don't have, like, they just appear and they don't have any like conclusion to it. They're just kind of there because like Naomi Watts' character, like like Diane is just, she's seen these people in her life and they like are popping up kind of in her subconscious. And so none of that like really, like, I don't really get into the whole like what's the theory of this person. I'm just kind of like,
Right.
that's just kind of all there. It's just kind of like you have these two women who are genuinely like on this journey trying to figure something out. And I just love that, like, it's they're sprinkled in like these conspiracies to make it think like it's part of this like greater celestial purpose. And it's like, no, it's just like this relationship between these two people.
Yeah, I think as many gymnastics as there are going on. I mean, Lynch talked about. Just said to him, it's a love story, and I think like the emotional through line is pretty clear. I think probably the first time I watched it, I would have been more of a Reddit puzzle box brain viewer and trying to unpack every piece. And now it's like, yeah, it's not about that. I mean, if you understand anything about how Lynch works or how movies like this are supposed to work, I think, then yeah, it's about the moment to moment emotions of the thing, and it works.
Just sit back and enjoy the trash lady.
Yeah.
Well, and also, like, I mean, within the structure of the film, like, all those conspiracy elements are from Naomi Watts's brain. Like, it's almost like, she's grieving this relationship that will never be, and the only way that she can deal with that is through this fantasy that, like, ascribes some conspiratorial web that gives agency to just like what in reality is just like the random casualties of just socializing among people. Like, there's no conspiracy, there's no there's no anything. It's just that relationship didn't work out, and her in the fantasy that like presents her as like this happy, you know, aspiring star. I mean, that's part of the fantasy, but the other part of the fantasy is that there is something to explain, rather than it simply just being, sometimes the things that we want like don't work out, and that's just brutal to think about. Like, we as the audience are kind of led along like she is kind of as she is constructing it, and I think part of what makes the ending of the movie is so hard. The waking up is just like it just is like pulling the rug out. Is like all those things that you cared about in the movie are just figments of imagination that are lost, and now here's what you have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I think about no I Bonda, like there is no band. It's all just this illusory thing. I mean, the movie starts with a person's head hitting a pillow. Like, as many interpretations as there are, it's also like it doesn't get more clear cut than that. But that's what's great about it is there's so many readings that are valid.
What is the Lynch thing that where he's like, he's like they want to talk about the movie. The movie's the talking.
Yeah. Have any of y'all read any of David Lynch's books? The one
I've read Lynch on Lynch, and I have an excerpt of it in this lovely little Criterion. And it's always nice. I'm unable to read anything of his without hearing it in his voice in my head.
Yeah.
I think is a very unique feature of any one person, that you can hear their voice in your head. But they offer clarity, and then they don't. The way he's able to discuss his art and life, and his life's thesis of love and the pursuit of meditation and enlightenment helps to give you some sort of framework to access whatever deeper meaning you need to find in his art that he maybe either put in there consciously or subconsciously. But then it also confuses you further, because it's almost too opaque and difficult to to wade through it, because it's like trying to see the forest through the trees, or it's all around you. Just don't question it too hard, but let it be exactly what it means to you, and hold on to that and believe in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think his advice would probably be don't read anything I say, just watch my movies. But the Criterion excerpt you mentioned is great, and he talks about when the pilot got scrapped and he was going to turn it into a movie, and his producers were like, "Yeah, we'll do this. We'll turn this into a movie." And then he realized he had no ideas for how to end this, and he had no idea what he was doing. And he said he was stressed and panicked and whatever. And then he was meditating, and within a 30-minute period of meditation, he came up with all the ideas for the ending of the movie and how it should work, which I guess is like, I say the ending, I think it's more like a third of the movie or something like that they went back and did. I mean, the way he works is that's just one of one. Like, there's no other, you can talk about other great filmmakers. Like, I don't think PTA is like meditating and comes up with a chunk of his movie in 30 minutes of time. I mean, it's a singular like way of working and a singular like way of making movies.
I think one of the things that's like really interesting about David Lynch is that his process resembles more of an avant-garde filmmaker, but then the films he produces have this kind of like, I don't know, mainstream is maybe not the right word, but like they have a narrative feature film, logic to them. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's kind of become like such an important figure for like, especially like young film watchers, is that he's a link to a whole bunch of different types of films, while also presenting films that are just normal enough that you can like hold on to something. I mean, if you just jump into like Stan Brakhage or something like that, like, and have no context for that, that's really tough. But like Eraserhead, there's just enough there. Like there's just enough there that like if you don't have the context of the avant-garde, like, you know, that you can kind of like hold on. And a lot of figures like that feel kind of watered down when you come back to them after having like looked into all the different stuff that you have sought out. But I think David Lynch is kind of incredible in the sense of like, even after like you go down all the different rabbit trails that like, you know, you might go down it as you like go into more adventurous filmmaking, you know, or film watching, and you come back to David Lynch, and somehow it still doesn't feel, that strangeness is still there. It doesn't feel any more familiar, despite you being able to kind of piece together like, you know, the pieces of film history that have kind of allowed for Lynch to exist. I don't know. Like, I think it's really neat.
Well, I think for the most part, he's riffing on like you said, as weird as he can get, like, he's riffing on like popular forms of noir and doing his own kind of neo-noir thing. And
or
yeah,
just
like,
the Wizard of Oz. I mean, the Wizard of Oz is just like that's the dream of the entire like movie industry. Like,
yeah,
the Wizard of Oz. You've seen the Wizard of Oz. You've seen like 90% of movies, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but like I hadn't seen like Vertigo or Persona or Sunset Boulevard when I watched this movie, I don't think so. But then when you watch these movies and you go back and watch this, you're right. It doesn't water it down. It enriches it, if anything, you know.
Dude, when they do the Persona shot in this movie, it just makes me want to stand up and cheer. It's such a basic thing, but like every time, like I always forget it's coming. I'm like, there it is. It's Persona.
Yeah,
like,
you're Rick Dalton. The Rick Dalton meme,
yeah, like I'm 100% that, or like all the people like cheering and like that game where like they come out of the portal, but it's just like their two faces next to one another.
Yeah, that's me when the cowboy shows up. I think I stood up and cheered yesterday when we saw that. That was fantastic.
Before we get some final thoughts, I wanted to just share. I had a bunch of different thoughts on not just naming it Mulholland Drive, but coming up with like secondary names to it. So I wanted to share that real quickly.
Oh no.
Let me preface. I got some side names for it. Mulholland Drive, origin story of Winky's lady. Because I love her. Why is she there? Why were we compelled to see her? And why is she so dirty?
Definitely a man.
Genderqueer. I like Zach's interpretation.
Is gender not party?
I like
But really, what's her story?
Yeah.
Girl,
I loved her.
Who is she?
Like,
Did it scare you?
yeah, I was like, what the hell is this woman doing? She's so dirty. So anyway. So Mulholland Drive, origin story of trash lady. Mulholland Drive, they just want to be gay Hollywood. What's wrong with that? Mulholland Drive,
Hashtag me too.
Hashtag me too. Because like that scene was happening and I was just like, that would not fly right now. There would be a variety piece about that, and there would be a lot of it, and the rap would immediately cover that because the rap loves covering stuff.
The movie. Lydia's raising her hand.
How does this fit in with your other experiences of David Lynch?
He hasn't had any experience to do.
All right, so my experiences with David Lynch when he plays the late night host to teach Louis C.K. how to be a late night host of Louis, yeah. and in Lucky when he's Lucky's best friend.
Awesome though.
In those two roles, he's wonderful. Can I just say about David Lynch real quick?
Yes.
That guy has magnificent hair.
It's the best hair.
it is.
Like, there's just a liked review on Letterboxd is for the David Lynch documentary, and my review is simply hair goals.
There should be a Mount Rushmore where it's just David Lynch's hair.
Those are my final thoughts on Mulholland Drive. I stand by those.
Mount Lynch sounds great. I'm in on that.
Any final thoughts, Grace?
I hope I never run out of final thoughts. Farewell, to David. I hope I don't get choked up when I say it, but it felt like here was an artist that, with everything he created, it was putting more love out into the world for us to, connect with and to love back. And it feels like a little love has gone out of the world. So I'm very sad, but I'm very happy to own these films and watch and discuss them with everyone. So I'm so glad that we could do this. There are, words fail. And I think that he knew that more than anybody else. The words can't really, express everything that we truly feel. Some things are inexplicable. I hope that I learn how to access that and stop talking sometimes.
The movies are the talking.
Yeah.
Michael, what about you?
Mine's not nearly as profound, but great score.
Great score.
We didn't really talk about the music too much, but incredible music in this movie.
Yeah, I mean the score, I love the hazy look of it. I mean, I feel like I could go for another hour. There's so much great stuff. But just thank you guys for having me. What a great excuse to revisit this movie and other David Lynch movies too. I rewatched Lost Highway for this, which was fantastic, and I stand by that being a great movie as well. But no, Mulholland Drive. What a great experience revisiting it. Thank you guys for letting me do that.
Yeah, I'm glad we could rectify a Cinematary error and get a David Lynch movie, like a full episode on the podcast. All right. Well, that'll wrap up this episode. You can find us on Instagram at handle at Cinematary and on Letterboxd at letterboxd.com/Cinematary, where we list all the movies that we talked about in this episode. If you would like to support the show, go to Patreon, patreon.com/Cinematary. Thank you so much to our patrons, Cam, Ron Hayes, Tyler Chandler, Teresa Marsathi, and Tanner Huskins. Thank you so much for supporting the show. We have one episode left before we get to 500. I mentioned it last week. Episode 499 will be Stagecoach. The great John Ford, and then honestly one of the best like intros to a career. Like, here is this movie star shot of John Wayne entering the frame. Yeah, in Stagecoach. It's honest, like he's gorgeous. It's incredible.
Also, shout out to
You guys are
David Lynch and the Fablemans.
John Wayne on this podcast. Oh my goodness.
He's really hot in that movie, I'll be honest. What, Michael?
I was just going to say shout out to David Lynch and the Fablemans as John Ford.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, connection to this film.
Yeah. But yeah, we have Cinematary 500 coming up May, I got it right, May 3rd. May 3rd, 8 p.m. at Central Cinema. I think we're good to announce the movie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to be, I think it was episode 6. Of the podcast. The first movie we talked about, we gave like a full episode to, was Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel. And so we're going to be watching that to discuss for the 500th episode. But we're still working on some other features. Like, we'll probably talk about the movie for a while, but we're also going to reflect back on 500 episodes of the podcast. And we got some good stuff in store for everybody. So please, if you're in Knoxville, we're going to have a great time. We'll have a bunch of people there. Let's fill up the theater and celebrate some movies and some Cinematary. And yeah, I don't know, Grace, anything else?
I can't wait to see you all there. If you're listening to this right now, you have to be in Knoxville. I don't want to hear any excuses. We'll put some folding chairs in. We'll go out into the hallway. We'll simulcast into the parking lot. We want everybody there. If you've ever listened and you've ever thought, man, I should go out to one of the live episodes, you should come see us. We want to see you.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and it's much better when we have people like engage. We don't want to just sit there and lecture people, so we want people to show up and like engage with the podcast. But yeah, and then we'll have more information probably that night on what we're looking forward to past 500. So that's going to be exciting. But until then, thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next episode.